This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, and especially at the moment, I do hope you're well. As you may have noticed, I've been on a little bit of a blues kick in recent times. Yesterday I did a little bit of a lesson and analysis on a track called Key to the Highway, or one of the solos from it anyway, and that was by Eric Clapton from the Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs album. Fantastic bit of blues playing, that really good. And on June the 1st, in a few days time, there is a Gary Moore, rather fantastic Gary Moore guitar solo in a blues style, going live on my Patreon. It's all broken down and analysed and tabbed out, and a jam track and all of the good stuff that goes with it. But one request I often get from students is concerning the major pentatonic scale, how to use it in a blues. Many people find it relatively easy to play, a convincing blues solo using the minor pentatonic scale, standard kind of blues scale stuff. But how do you incorporate the major pentatonic, which is something that you often hear being done, but it can be a bit of a problem for some people. So I thought I'd spend a little bit of time working on that with you today. In terms of taking the scale pattern that you're going to be playing and then making it into a solo to essentially not sound like you're just running up and down a scale, I did an entire video on that a little while ago, which I'll link to in the description. It's all to do with phrasing and that kind of thing. So treat this as like kind of two parts. Watch today's video, this one, and get to know where the scales are and how to use them and when to use this one, when to use that one, and so on. And then go and take a look at the other lesson that I did earlier on phrasing, and you should have something that gives you a convincing sounding result. But anyway, let's crack on now with a little bit of a look at how to use minor and major pentatonics in a 12-bar blues setting. Okay, let's do a simple blues in the key of A, and because we're in the key of A, we will have three main chords going on here: an A chord, a D chord, and an E chord. And just to make things sound a little bit more bluesy, we're going to make each one of those chords into sevenths. So A becomes A seventh, D becomes D seventh, and E becomes E seventh. Now, there are theoretical reasons why that makes things sound bluesy, but we're not going to go there at the moment. I just want to keep this as simple as possible. So the A7th chord, which is essentially just an A major chord, and we can tell it's essentially an A major chord because if we look at what changes if we were to change A major into A minor, it's only one note. It's this note here, which is in the A major chord. It happens to be a C sharp, and if it goes to a minor chord, that C sharp would become a C. The note in the major chord is C sharp, that's called the major third. The note in the minor chord is a C, that would be called the minor third. Major, minor, major, minor. And because the A7 chord is the centre of gravity of this piece of music, we're in the key of A, kind of, then what we do is we think in terms of that chord for our choice of scale to use over the top of it. And because it is essentially a major type chord, we traditionally would think in terms of using a major pentatonic scale, and an A major pentatonic scale would look like this. There are other ways of playing it, as we will see in a little while, but that's the way that it would, possibly be played round that A chord. The problem is that's not going to sound very bluesy. It's going to sound a little bit too country almost. We want to inject some bluesy tension, and the way we do that is by using what is effectively the wrong scale. And the wrong scale would be, rather than the A major pentatonic, we use the A minor pentatonic. And that's the only scale pattern you're going to need to be able to play any of the solos in this lesson. Okay, so It's that interaction between the major feel of the chord and the minor feel of the scale. You can see the scale has the minor third in it there that we were talking about earlier. It's that sort of just slight clash between those two notes which gives blues its bluesy tension, and it's what makes it work. But we are going to make one little concession towards the majorness of the chord sequence, and that is every time we land on that minor third that's in the scale, which is a C note, we're going to pull it slightly sharp so that it's kind of sounds like it's kind of striving to get to the major note but not quite making it. So instead of playing, I'm going to play like that, just pulling it slightly sharp. It's not quite reaching the note that's in the chord, but it's just kind of aiming for it, if you see what I mean. And that alone gives you quite a bluesy sound. If I was just to play like two notes and go like that, that doesn't sound particularly bluesy. But if I apply that little curl, as it's known, to the minor third, it gives us this. Already, that's starting to sound like blues. And if I just locate that minor third elsewhere in the scale, it's very easy to do. It's called a pentatonic scale because there are 5 notes in it. If I want to find out where else it is, I just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes up from that note, and there it is again there. Or count 5 notes down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There it is there. So locate those notes, and whenever you land on them, it's always a good idea to just give them that little tug sharp, like that. And if you do that and string a few licks together out of that pattern, you could easily end up with a solo that sounds like this. And that in itself actually sounds pretty good. Many great guitar solos use nothing but that technique. But sooner or later you are bound to encounter a solo or a player who does a little bit more than that. And this is where we come back to our old friend, the major pentatonic scale. Okay, now remember that pattern I showed you for it here. You can use that in any pattern of the pentatonic scale that you want, but there's a very easy way to turn any minor pentatonic scale into a major pentatonic scale. Okay, so this is a minor pentatonic, which we've just played a bit of a solo with. Now if I want to turn that into a major pentatonic, I just scooch it down the neck 3 frets. 1, 2, 3, and there it is there. 2 things you need to know about the using the major pentatonic scale. Okay, you can use it pretty much over the entire chord sequence, but with one exception. When the chord sequence goes up to the D7, can you see how the D7 has that minor note in it that we were talking about earlier? You know, the note that would define the A as being an A minor. Okay, now the major pentatonic scale has this note in it, okay, which if I locate that note back onto this string, there it is there, you're going to get those 2 notes kind of clashing together, but not in a good way this time. Okay, it'd end up sounding like this. So don't use the major pentatonic that whenever the chord is on D7. Listen out for that D7, and if in doubt, just stay in the minor pentatonic. And you can stay in the minor pentatonic all the way through it, as you heard earlier, and just when you're absolutely certain that you're not on the D7 chord, just go back and just drop down 3 frets and have a little play around in the major pentatonic, and it will be fine. The other thing that we do is when we're in the major pentatonic, remember how we were bending that note in the pattern slightly sharp earlier, and it's kind of mirror images elsewhere in the pattern? Don't do that in the major pentatonic. You only want to be doing that in the minor pentatonic. And what the mixture of major and minor pentatonics together will give you is just that little other colour on your palette, just a slightly different sound. You can play a major pentatonic lick that might go and then into a minor like that, and it just gives a slightly different feel to it and adds a bit more variety to proceedings. Take a listen to this solo and you'll hear and hopefully be able to see where I'm going from major and minor pentatonics, and staying away from the major pentatonic whenever the D7 chord is around. Here it is. And as always, as a special thank you to my Patreon supporters, very grateful. Thanks, guys. You know who you are. Massively appreciated. You can grab that entire solo all in one big lump. The first half where I'm just using the minor pentatonic, and the second half where I'm mixing minor and major together. That is all up on my Patreon page. There's the address. That's where you need to go to. Link in the description. And alongside that, you also get the jam track and the full solo tabbed out in both Guitar Pro and PDF formats, whichever tickles your fancy. So go and grab it and learn some licks, and you're ready to rock, or ready to play blues, I should say. And that's pretty much all I've got for you today, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so, and why not give me a like while you're at it. And I'll just remind you that it's Wednesday today. It's halfway through the week. We're on the downhill slope now towards Friday, aren't we? And what happens on a Friday? The 5 o'clock live stream, 5 PM UK time. We just kick the weekend off with a live stream with a bit of beer and a bit of chat and a bit of a laugh. It's great fun. Great way to start the weekend, so I hope to see many of you there. And I'll just round off by saying that if you're thinking of buying a Fret Zealot tuition aid, which is a rather wonderful little tuition device, I use one quite a lot in my lessons. Oh, there's the sun in my eyes. I use one quite a lot in my lessons and find it very useful. If you're thinking of buying one and you're not sure whether to pull the trigger, then maybe this will give you a little bit of a kick. Use the discount code that you can see on screen there. It's also in the description, along with the link that you need in order to make your purchase, and you'll get a little bit of money knocked off thanks to me. You're welcome. And with that, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you for your time. Thank you for watching, and I do look forward to seeing you all again next time around. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye for now.